In the last 8 years, Conway has had many capital projects, particularly roads and parks, on neglecting upkeep of their park and road infrastructure. And some of the things I've heard stated by the Parks and Recreation folks, they're literally talking about millions of dollars of work that has to be done on parks. Those capital dollars were spent in it, and there's been very little maintenance to upkeep the parks. And so maintenance on those as well as roads has been left, and it's going to cost more and more. Go back to the $2 versus the $10 per foot. How would you want to address this situation? I know you said that roads is your, but is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
The upside is the parks repairs and maintenance can go through the A&P tax, which I know is not real popular, but however, that keeps it from going into the general fund. As far as our streets, we're going to have to continue on our state turnback, the 1.1 million, but we're also going to have to refocus some of our other needs within the city and redirect those funds into the street department. Now, however, one thing is, the street department is not part of the general fund. The street fund is its own separate fund, and all of its money comes from the state turnback. So there's just a set amount of dollars within that we can actually use on our streets within the city. I don't have all the answers to that, but I do know that one thing we possibly, no, I'm not going to throw that out there. Anyway, it is state turnback money, it is a set amount, and we can use A&P money to repair our parks.
1 minute.
Bart is exactly right. The majority of the street department, it is a separate fund, comes from the state turnback. There are some additional funds that go in there, impact fees and that sort of thing, that can be negotiated as far as up to the city council to decide where that's spent. So it just depends on how much you're building new streets. The problem is we're building new streets. We're building them more and more. We're not taking care of the streets that we have. I mean, it's obvious to everybody. The A&P tax, the reason we're building all these big facilities is because we've got all this money coming in from the A&P tax. Now, some of that is set by state law on what you can and can't spend with A&P tax, but some of it is negotiable within the city council. Again, folks, the city council is the one that you really need to be talking to. The mayor, you can have a say-so, but it's the council that votes it. Thank you.
Scott, 1 minute.
The parks play a vital role in the health of our community. So I'm thankful for our parks. It gives us the public space in which we can enjoy and we can actually just be around one another and communicate. Now, as how we pay for it, again, when you go back to how you build the city out, cities sprawl across the country. Cities have seen weaknesses within their budgets because they've built out way too far, handed streets, and then after 30, 40 years and the streets need repairing, you don't have the money because you didn't plan accordingly. If you want to pay for it, plan for it. Don't just build it, but understand that you have to plan for the maintenance and the long-term holding of that property and how you're going to handle it. There's a way. We just have to make sure that we plan accordingly. So for me, it'll be strong planning on the front end, and any initiative that is brought to the city, we'll look at it in every aspect that we need to when it comes to both the cost of it as well as the long-term maintenance and holding.
Thank you. Mark, we're going to begin with you with 1 minute response. Question is, Conway has lost much of its manufacturing job base over the years, such as Amtran, Courier, Nucor, they're all gone.
Yes.
Verco has reduced its employment, along with many of the smaller companies that service all of these organizations have now disappeared for their outsourcing of their services. So while focusing right now heavily on attracting lower paying retail jobs, I don't know if there's a swap out there, but do you consider this a problem? And if so, how will your administration correct this?
That's been a pet peeve of mine for 5 years now. But anyway, manufacturing jobs, we need to stress more on manufacturing jobs. We're getting some good high-tech jobs, technology jobs, which that's great, that's fantastic. We could use them. But we need the manufacturing jobs. You've got the Economic Development Corporation, you've got Chamber of Commerce, You got the mayor's office, all should be out here knocking on doors, doing whatever we can to get manufacturing jobs in. I was told that according to the statistics, for every one manufacturing job, you've got 4 additional support jobs that go with that. So that's 5 for 1, basically. The retail is good, but that's only one-on-one. So we need to stress, and I would, my administration, which includes all the administration, would stress trying to get more manufacturing jobs. It's a disgrace that we lost the ones we have. It would be nice to get something back because it covers a whole lot of people. And go from there.
Thank you, Mark. Scott, 1 minute.
The G in my climate analogy, green, sustainable development. I think, what does green have to do with manufacturing? Well, actually, if you read through the fine lines, Walmart, they have a $250 billion initiative in order to bring manufacturing jobs back to the U.S. The United States is actually becoming cost competitive when it comes to manufacturing. And those jobs are going to start coming back here because Walmart is leading the charge as well as other companies. Where are we positioned to take advantage of that? We can. Do we have high-tech jobs coming to Conway? Well, we've got tech companies, but most of it is customer service jobs. It's not a lot of high-tech jobs. So we have opportunity for manufacturing all kinds, but we need to take care of the resources. We have interstate, rail, and river right at our hand. And we've got Fort Smith to the west and Little Rock to the south that are working on their ports. And what are we doing? We had opportunity for intermodal authority here, and it was shot down by Faulkner County. I think that needs to be looked at. I personally believe that regardless of it, we've got to look at the opportunities that we have for shipping to bring manufacturing back into Conway.
Thanks, Scott. Mark?
There are over 25,000 cities and towns in the United States that are all vying for the small number of manufacturing jobs that are available at this time. Where does that leave us? Well, I believe in expansion and retention of our current facilities that we have here. 80% of all new jobs within a city, within a locale, are from your existing your existing manufacturers here. I've got it. I've lost my train of thought. I got started on manufacturing and the number of jobs, expansion and retention. If we can expand and retain the current facilities we have, 80% we can, I'm out.
The clock does not stop. Okay.
It was a great one.
Scott, we're going to go to you. I think 1 minute on this one. And in regards to debt, this 1 minute response. The city of Conway has steadily increased their debt load by bonding out or borrowing against many of its revenue streams. Do you consider this a problem? And if so, how would you correct this?
I believe it's a huge problem. Leverage is good, and leverage is important because we can take $1 and leverage to get 10. Great, but if you leverage too much, then you over leverage yourself. I'll give you one example of how I would take care of this. One of our departments has actually looked at their capital expenditures. In the past, they would buy all of their capital all at once, trucks and everything. It'd be a huge load, and we'd have to finance that through bonds. When I was an asset manager, one thing that we had was a capital budget in which we actually capitalized that over a period of time, and we would pay for our capital expenditures over a period of time, not all at once. You spread it out, you plan for it, and you make the right decisions when it comes to the time so that you're not over leveraging yourself, and you can actually incrementally keep yourself strong as you move forward as a city. And you don't get into a crux of a problem whenever you have failing equipment. Actually, that equipment you can be rotating out, you can manage it.
Thank you, Scott. Art?
Would you repeat the question?
Okay, the question is...
We were talking.
I'm sorry. It's the end of your time. No, I'm kidding. The city of Conway has steadily increased their debt load by bonding out or borrowing against many of their revenue streams. Do you consider this a problem? And if so, how would your administration correct this?
It is something that's going to have to be addressed. We have probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $16.5 million in 5-year loans that are going to come due within someone's administration. So we're going to have to address that. The way to avoid that in the future, is to plan. Before we jump into something, we actually need to figure out what it's gonna cost. What is it gonna cost us to build it? What's it gonna cost us 1 year from now? What's it gonna cost us to staff it? What's it gonna cost us to maintain it? It all goes back to planning, goes back to strategic planning. And what we as a city can do to make sure that we don't get into this cycle of 5-year loans.
Thank you, Mark. Mark?
Both of them are actually right. We are, again, my credit card's maxed out. We can't borrow anymore because by state law, we've maxed out everything that we can do on the 5-year notes. So that definitely is a problem. To answer your basic question, yes, it is a problem. Yes, it needs to be addressed. The only way you address that, the problem is they have locked in certain pieces of sales tax to pay for that, more or less like your collateral towards it. And we need to, so therefore we can't do any expansion, we can't do any repairs, we can't take care of anything because all of our money is locked up. We don't have any wiggle room. We're going to have to free that up. The only way to free that up is to cut back, just like you would in your household, just like you and I have to do. You cut back on your expenses to pay off the note, and then you have more free money to go from there.
Okay, thank you, Mark. And that finishes the questions. So now it's your time. And so let's move to closing statements. We'll start with Scott. And you have 2 minutes for a closing statement, and we'll proceed to Art and then Mark.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the Tea Party for letting us come out and speak tonight. Really appreciate the time. This is a rare opportunity where we can actually stand up, the three of us, and you can see the differences that we have. The reason why I stepped into this race is because I want to help Conway become a city strong and sustainable plan for the future. And the only way we can get there is working through all these initiatives that we talked about today. But you've got to realize that the future of this city, it's really right now. We've had a mayor for 18 years, and we're in a transition. We don't need to go out and go gung-ho. We need to figure out where our base is, and we need to set a path forward for the future. When I'm mayor of the city of Conway, my first plan will be to come in and to create a strong foundation. A house built on a rock will stand, but on sand it won't. So I promise you this, when we come together, we'll seek neighborhood coalitions, we'll seek more speaking to the people and hearing from you what the needs are for this city, and your voice will be heard, and it's not going to be anything well, it's not going to be the past, it's going to be the future, and the future is this city. So I want to thank you very much for coming out today. Again, it's scottgromer.com. You'll go on there, you'll find my platform, which is the climbing acronym City Services, Innovate, Labor, and Labor, as well as infrastructure, mobility and transit, which is extremely important for the city. We have no bus system. Building fiscal health, invest in human capital, that's the people and the workers of this city, and making them strong to move forward in the future. Neighborhood development, bringing our neighborhoods together as a coalition so that your voice can be heard in green, sustainable development so that we can move forward into the future of what the city can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Art?
I guess to sum it all up tonight, I know I faltered there a little bit. My mind was working a lot quicker than it normally does. Why would you vote for Bart Castleberry for mayor? One, I think one of the most important facts is I have experience. I've spent 35 years building relationships with people in this community, with the stakeholders within this community. I took over a department that had a budget of $1.1 million and had 34 people. When I left, we had a budget of $8.3 million, 109 people, and we were the Class 2 rated department. Many of those decisions that were made affect you on a daily basis. You may not know it, you may be asleep at 2 o'clock in the morning. But I have the experience, I have made the tough decisions. I was the Emergency Services Director for Hurricane Katrina, for the Depco fire. I've worked with FEMA, I've worked with the Conway School District, CDC, the Chamber of Commerce. I have good relationships, and I know what everyone's job is. I'm a problem solver. I don't step out there and try to make something harder than it actually is. I use common sense. In approaching problems, I use common sense to come up with answers. But I also include other people. but, you know, someone still has to make the final decision. I have done those things, and I will continue to do that. Vision, we have to look at all of the assets that we have regionally and locally, and we have to pool those, and we have to figure out exactly where we want to go. What is the vision of Conway and where we are headed? And finally, I'm just, without going into great detail, I want you to know that I do have priorities. My number one priority, and I've said it time and time again, is streets and infrastructure. We're doing pretty well. Conway is a great community. We're a community that everyone else wants to be. I love what we're doing in Conway. Like I said, we're at a pinnacle, we're at the top, we just need to fill in some gaps underneath. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Thank you, Melissa, for hanging out with me all these years. Thank you to the Tea Party.
Thank you for Thursday bar, now Mark.
Again, I want to thank you all for being here. I know you took time out of your schedule, and especially in the evenings. That's my time, whatever. So I appreciate y'all coming. Thank the Tea Party for sponsoring this. They're one of the few that do that. I'm glad they're saying what they're saying. You ever heard the phrase, imitation is the greatest form of flattery? They're saying the same thing I've been saying for 5 years now, folks. So obviously I had something going on. It's just they didn't listen to me 4 years ago, but hopefully they will this time. I would love to be your mayor, spent 33 years with the city of Conway, a little over 30 of that with the Conway Police Department, worked all the way up through the ranks, all the way to interim chief for a spell. Dealt with people day in and day out. Sometimes not the best of people, and sometimes the best of people. I've been with good and bad. I can deal with all of them. My consensus is get everybody together. We have a problem. Let's get it together. Let's discuss it. Even if we don't do what everybody wants to do, if they understand why you're doing what you're doing, they can accept it and rock on. We have great departments. We have great city employees. We have great department heads. All you got to do is tell them what direction you want to go in, and they'll go. And our job is to find the money to do it. And I think I can do that. I know I can do that. So I appreciate y'all's support. I appreciate y'all's interest. I appreciate every one of y'all. Truly do. I've served you for 33 years. I want to continue to serve you. Back on that back table is some literature. I've got a web page, markelsingerformayor.com. I've got some banners there that go on the back glass of the thing. Got a notebook there. I don't have my signs. The yard signs, we'll pick them up tomorrow. I'm sorry. But you got a name, address, and phone number, and I'll bring you your signs. So thank you very much. Y'all have a wonderful evening, and God bless every one of you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. That concludes tonight's activities. I don't know if David, you want to say anything? I do know that we're going to have refreshments and opportunity for the candidates to mix and meet all of you here in the room. And with that, I'll back away and give it up to David.
Thank you, David.
I just want to thank everyone for coming out, and thank you, candidates, for taking on being willing to take on the responsibility. Folks, that's a tremendous job these guys are asking for. I mean, you know, one of them wants the job, and I don't know, they're asking for it, but one of them's going to be a good mayor. Thanks for coming to see us. I want to remind you all that Florida County Tea Party meets every Thursday at Larry's Pizza on Markham Street. We always have a good program. Had an excellent program today. Next Thursday at noon, we'll have Curtis Coleman, who was a former candidate for governor a couple of years ago. Some of you may remember him. We meet around 11:30, break up at 1 o'clock. We'd like to have you there. If you're not a member of the Tea Party, come and visit us there. And, oh, by the way, Morris is reminding me we do have membership application or forms. You don't even have to apply for membership. We have a form back on the back table. Lifetime membership, $15. The price of a meal, a cheap meal. Thank you very much for coming. Enjoy some refreshments with us as long as you want to stay around. These guys will probably be glad to try to answer.